Peace will fill the world when we finally understand that only from within can it be spread throughout the land. Every single person living peace in what we do, only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.
Good morning, friends. I'm Leona Evans, minister at Unity of San Luis Obispo, an inclusive, progressive, spiritual community affirming the good in all life. Welcome to our Sunday morning live stream. This is our Mother's Day 2021 celebration of love. And so I'm excited to share this time with you. We're going to be talking about not only the nurturing love that we receive and give to one another, but today we're going to be talking about the unconditional, ever-present love of God that is right here in our midst, within us, available to us. And also we're going to delve a little more deeply into the concept of unconditional, because that's a term that we might not fully grasp. And although we might never fully grasp it, we're going to go more deeply into it and talk about how impactful it is in our understanding of who we are, why we're here, and what is ours to do. So let's just take a deep breath and relax. We want to be focused and we want to be fully present during this time together. It's a time of worth, which is what worship really means, a time of worth. It's worthy of our attention to know who we are. It's worthy of our attention to understand the presence and the nature of God within us. And it is a worthy topic to be able to feel that unconditional love of Spirit more deeply than we ever have. So let's take another deep breath and gently lay aside any other thoughts or random issues that might come up and be fully present in the here and now. And let us affirm together, I am now open and receptive to the living Spirit of truth. Once again, I am now open and receptive to the living Spirit of truth. And so it is. Amen. We're going to open our service with a joy song from Matthew J. Evans.
Good morning. Today we're going to sing We Are One in the Spirit. Please sing along with the lyrics on the bottom of the screen. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. And we know that our unity will this day be restored. And we know we are family by our love, by our love. Yes, we know we are family by our love. We will walk with each other, we will walk hand in hand. We will walk with each other, we will walk hand in hand. And together we'll spread the news of peace throughout the land. And we know we are family by our love, by our love. Yes, we know we are family by our love. We will talk with each other, we will share how we feel. We will talk with each other, we will share how we feel. And the bonds of our friendship friendship will be open and real, and we know we are family by our love, by our love. Yes, we know we are family by our love. Have a great morning, everybody.
Thank you so much, Matthew. That was just great. Well, today is Mother's Day, and I am so happy to be a mom. I am truly, truly grateful that I've had this opportunity to be a mom to my son Matthew, that we get a chance to work together, that we have shared interests. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling to know that there is someone that you can shower your love on and mentor and support. Is every day this way for mothers? No, of course not. But that's because life is for learning and life is for living. And many of our learning experiences are challenging ones, but that doesn't change the unconditional love. That doesn't change the love that ideally a mother would have for her children. It's just there. It just undergirds everything. It's one of the most important feelings we can ever have. And so, happy Mother's Day. I just want to make a disclaimer to acknowledge that on Mother's Day there is often sadness that comes with having lost our mothers or our children. It becomes very bittersweet, and it becomes a time of grief and sorrow. And so for any of you watching our live stream who are experiencing that, or anyone who lost a mother or a child during this last year of COVID, please know that my support is with you, and that I know that inside of you is the unconditional love of Spirit that can provide comfort during this time. Nothing will ever make it better. But knowing that you had the love, and knowing that you can still have the love in a different form, is extremely important. To know that you are loved at all times and in all ways, no matter what, is extremely important. And so today we bless all mothers around the world, and we give thanks that every opportunity of sharing this type of love with a mother or mother figure brings us closer and closer to the wholeness and the oneness that we seek. Let's take a moment now to listen to a special piece of music by Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans.
I'd like to play this next song in celebration of Mother's Day, and my mother and your mother, everyone's mom. This song is from the Broadway musical Minnie's Boys, and Minnie was the Marx Brothers' mother. So they made a wonderful musical called Minnie's Boys. Here it goes. What do you give to the lady who has given all her life and love to you? What do you give to the reasons you are living? I could win to stop the world before I'm through. Mama, a rainbow. Mama, a sunrise. That's not good enough. No, not good enough. Not for Mama. Mama, a palace, diamonds like doorknobs, mountains of gold to spare. That's not rich enough. No, not rich enough. Not for Mama. Mama, a lifetime crowded with laughter. That's not long enough. Not half long enough. What can I give you that I can give you? What will your present be? Mama, young and beautiful, always young and beautiful. That's the Mama I'll always see. That's for Mama, with love from me. Love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom. I love you too, Matthew. What a beautiful rendition. A powerful song that uses beautiful lyrics to say there aren't words enough. There aren't expressions enough to consider the depth and the breadth of love that is within us. And because that love is there, we can say, I love you unconditionally. Because no behavior, no circumstance will change that. And we always say to our children who don't really understand, because I remember being a child who didn't understand either, when my mother would say, I love you, but I don't like your behavior. I didn't have the intellectual skills to be able to separate my behavior from me. And so I felt disapproval. So I thought that I would change that for Matthew. I would make it absolutely crystal clear that there was a difference between not approving or appreciating his behavior, which might be unsafe or careless or any of those things, and the fact that I loved him always. I was so sure that I was going to get it right, only to find out that no small child really knows how to differentiate between who they are and what they do. So even though I said the words, and Matthew remembers my saying the words, it didn't make the desired impact. There was always a sense of disapproval. And of course, the older he got, the more aware of understanding that kind of feeling, the love, the connection, the oneness is always there. But as mothers, as parents, we need to, as part of our job, keep our children safe and teach them what works or what is appropriate and what isn't. It's just hard. It's hard for small children to really, really get that concept. And so no matter how sweet or loving or encouraging our childhoods might have been in certain instances, there were other times when we didn't feel really loved by our mothers or appreciated. We felt disapproval. We felt that there was anger directed at us. We felt a sense of shame because we had caused problems. And even though we might have, as we were getting older, past, of course, the toddler stage, we understood why our mothers needed to be strict with us, as well as being cozy and cuddly and loving and fun. We still felt a loss, a sense of abandonment, a sense that when our mothers were correcting our behavior, they were also expressing disapproval. I think this is a universal experience. And so it becomes really, really important as we grow up and learn about the difference that we heal some of those memories in our childhood. Now, I'm not talking about parents who have suffered from addiction or abusive parents. I'm not talking about that, because that's another category. And in that category, what we need to understand is it wasn't our fault that we didn't get the love that we needed because our mother or our parents were not healthy enough to give their best self. Again, a very sophisticated concept for a child, but one that's really necessary as we learn and grow and open ourselves to new love experiences and prepare ourselves to be the person that we want to be with. That we want to be the person who has the self-respect and the wisdom and the self-confidence and the self-acceptance to be able to treat others fairly without the memories of anger or of feeling especially hurt or of having so many triggers that we become like a target, hit me again, I'm sensitive to everything. We want to let go of those early feelings of being abandoned or of feeling a type of shame because we felt disapproved of. It's tough, but necessary. It is absolutely necessary to identify our triggers, to embrace them in love, and to understand that in life, whether we're a parent or whether we're a loving supervisor at our work or in any situation where we're in charge of a project, there are going to be things that we approve of and things that we don't. Still, we can have that love for the essential essence of who the people in our lives are. We can have that respect, but we need to make corrections because it's not just the relationship that's in balance here in our daily work lives and in other areas. It's about projects too, projects that have to adhere to certain guidelines, behaviors that need to adhere to certain guidelines. And so we want to make it clear that any memory that has tinges of rejection or shame or abandonment, we need to look very carefully at those situations and find a way to understand that everyone is subject to refinement and corrections and tweaks in the way we do things. And just because we're being found not having accomplished something or tried it and have it come out not the way it was supposed to be, that doesn't make us less lovable. In fact, it doesn't make us a bad worker or a bad person. It makes us someone who was willing to take a chance and learn a new thing and go for it, even if it didn't measure up. Because that's how we learn. And we never want to be so afraid of being critiqued because we relate it to rejection that we're afraid to try anymore. I love you means I love you. Again, at this stage of our development, I love you even though I get frustrated because you don't listen to me, and because you don't listen to me, I think you don't respect me, and if I think you don't respect me, it makes me angry because I love you so much, and and this whole thing goes both ways. And so the term unconditional, I believe at this level of our evolution, means that we have the capacity to accept the fact that even though our parents, our mothers, the ones who were supposed to nurture us with love, even though they got angry with us or frustrated with our behavior, they always, always, always loved us. A mother doesn't stop loving no matter what. No matter what. And so here's to this level of unconditional love, because, as Brett sang in that beautiful song, it's greater than words, greater than our imagination, deeper than anything we can discuss. And so that brings us to another step or stage in our development, and that's one that's the hardest for us to understand because it's really difficult at our stage of development in our evolutionary process. There's still so much emotional intelligence that we need to develop, whether we're children or adults. And I'm so grateful that even though some of the great masters like Mahatma Gandhi always knew that education was a lot more than reading and writing, that it was an education of the emotions, of the heart, education of becoming emotionally mature as well as intellectually. But in the 90s, the term emotional intelligence became important on the scene of psychology. And a man named Daniel Goleman, a wonderful author and innovator in the field of emotional intelligence, started talking about the importance of not only teaching children how to respond in a responsible and loving way in order to avoid some of the immature responses we get when we're excessively self-absorbed or frightened or if we've been wounded. And so this idea of emotional intelligence has carried out, and we see it. We see so many opportunities to teach children and learn ourselves the idea of emotional intelligence. For example, when Matthew went to the Montessori school at Unity, and he was in the first graduating class. He entered when he was 3. It was our preschool, and he graduated at the age of 5. But during that time, they were taught to deal with interpersonal challenges. And what did they do? And this, of course, was taught even to a deeper degree when he went into first grade at the other Montessori school that went through the 6th grade. He was able to learn how wise and loving people disagree, how they have conflict resolution, how there are different perspectives, and how history, in other words, the way I see it, can sometimes be an art form. Everybody doesn't remember the same thing in the same way, even though they were both there. Why? Because we have these feelings, we have these hurts that we've already experienced. We have this fear of abandonment. But even greater than that basic fear is a basic desire within us to have unity, to get along, to love and be loved. So Matthew's experiences in preschool and in first and second grade were to be able to go to a place called the Peace Garden and to sit with one of the instructors and to each talk out what they believed the problem was, and to give and take, and to help each child understand that their perspectives were valid. There's nothing to be ashamed of, even if one of the children struck another. There was no shame or blame. You made me do this, or I should, you shouldn't do that. There was none of that. Oh, there was between the children, but with the instructor, it wasn't about that. In the future, we don't want to raise our hands to each other. We don't want to hit. You're lovable. You're learning. It's okay. Just remember to use your words and to share your feelings, and as much as possible to not interrupt, and to be able to actually see another's point of view. How would you feel if you were the one who, other artful mediation techniques, but this is all a part of emotional intelligence, so that we can see our children grow up with a greater understanding that conflict is inevitable. We're not trying to do away with conflict. That's another thing that brings shame and blame, that we hold ourselves to this extraordinary standard and we can't meet it because, well, it's unrealistic and it's not practical. It's not really practical. Our goal is to experience things from our own perspective so we can understand where we were coming from and broaden it to understand where the other was coming from as well. It doesn't mean we're going to agree, but it doesn't mean that somebody's bad and we're good, or we're bad and they're good. It isn't about that. It's about how to affect a win-win situation without having to bend so far that we'll break, and sticking to a rigidity, but it's about a give and take. And it's less about our personal feelings and more about the issue. So much to learn. But you see, the more we learn about emotional intelligence, the more we're able to feel the love, even from an individual who is giving us a critique. After all, as my first director told me when I was in a play at the age of 4, and I cried because I said, "You don't like me. You don't think I'm good in this part." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Because you keep changing your mind and telling me to do this and do that, and I don't think I'm doing any of it right." And I just cried and cried. And he said, probably the most important lesson that I've ever gotten, certainly, and that I've tried to teach so many others over the years. He said, "Of course I like you, and of course I think you're wonderful in the part, but you're not finished learning it. You're rehearsing, and that means practice. I've spent all this time as the director learning everything that I think will work for this play. But you don't know what's going on in my mind, so I have to tell you, walk here, not there. Don't put your hand here, put it there. Say this with more feeling or less." It's all a process, but it isn't about not liking you. It's about the fact that I do care about you. I think you can do it, even though you're not doing it at this moment, but that doesn't matter. This is a time of practice and of honing your skills. I remember thinking at the time, even though I was only 4, I'm not exactly sure what he said, but I sure feel a lot better. A lot better. And then as the years go on, we understand how wise those words were, and how getting feedback then became something we could be proud of. He cared enough to tell me that I could do it better. He believed I could do it better. Not, "Oh, I'm doing everything wrong." She believed I could do it better. They believed in me. All of this is about tapping into the love that's within us and being able to understand how to approach life experiences, not from the wound itself, but from the love, from the beauty, from the truth. The level that we have not reached yet, but that's there for us, is the understanding that with spirit, we are talking about an absolute truth that is always true. You see, we live and move in the relative world, which is subject to changes and opinions. Each of us is circumscribed. That means we have likes and dislikes inherent within us. And there's nothing wrong with having to choose, having to judge. Is this chemical the right one in my chemistry class, or is this the one that's going to explode? We have to figure out which is which. Which group of people I wish to embrace. Or are these people going to try to get me to try drugs, or get me into trouble, or break the law in some way? We make choices all the time, and that's why we can reach this level of growth where we say, "I don't like your behavior, but I love you." But when we're talking about spirit, that is in the realm of the absolute, the same today, tomorrow, and always. And so anytime you think that spirit or God gets angry with you the way we get angry, or our mothers get angry with us, we need to remember that God is love, pure love. God isn't a personality that makes choices. God isn't a zookeeper that keeps us on the straight and narrow. God is love. And love loves. Love doesn't disapprove. You remember the example of unconditional love that's told to us in the Gospels, where Jesus was on the cross and there were two others that were on crosses with him. And they said, basically, we've been robbers, we've been thieves, we've disobeyed the law. Is there a place for us where you're going? And immediately Jesus responded by saying, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. Today. Not after you've had a time out, not after you've stood in the corner, not after you've wept and beat your breasts. Now. Because God is pure and perfect, unconditional love at all times and in all ways. So I can hear some of you saying, wait a minute. God doesn't turn away or punish us for our sins. God isn't unhappy or frustrated or heartbroken when we sin. No. God is not heartbroken. God does not turn away, because God is not a personality, and because God is love. God is the love that motivates and moves and connects all things. Love is the spiritual glue. Love is the unifying principle that sees the good in all. And because it's in the realm of the absolute, it is all the time. Now, if you remember the parable of the prodigal son, when the younger son runs off and squanders his inheritance, which he asks for early, and commits every crime on the face of the earth, and then is starving and figures that, he'd be better off being a servant for his father's work than where he is now, his father greets him with open arms. His father greets him with open arms and never says a word about the transgressions, isn't heartbroken, isn't disappointed, isn't on an ego trip, doesn't have an opinion about the activities. The father in this parable represents the living spirit of truth as unconditional love. Well, who was really upset about it was the elder brother. That elder brother, man, he was strict. He never did anything wrong. He was always on his best behavior. He pointed his finger at people who did things wrong because he was better. And he sacrificed and he did everything that his father asked for him. He never strayed. And boy, was he upset when his younger brother just blasted the heck out of the sins, committed them all, had a high old time, ended up starving, and crawled back to his father, who was really happy to see him. Now, that elder brother's ego was so tight, and he was so tightly wound that he expected his father to say, "You deserve to be punished." Well, wasn't he being punished when he had to eat the slop that the pigs left over, when his whole self-image was destroyed, when he thought he was so smart and going to do these great things and everything ended up failing? I don't know. I think that would be enough for me. Really, really tough. And that's why we say in unity we're not punished for our sins, but by them. And so the father of the prodigal son demonstrated unconditional love. My son was lost, now he's found. Let's have a party. Let's celebrate. And then, when the elder brother wouldn't come out and join the festivities, and the father came to him and said, "Why don't you celebrate your brother's return?" He said, "I'll tell you why. I've been here. I never left. I never took a vacation. I never asked for my inheritance. I've been doing all the things right. And you give him a party? You never gave me a party." And the father, the spirit of unconditional love, said, "My son, everything I have is yours. Come, let's celebrate." And so there is more to go, other stages to experience in our understanding of unconditional love. But it's good to have a goal. Very good to have a goal, because we know what direction we're going in. Don't think for a minute that God or Spirit remembers your transgressions and raises an eyebrow saying, "Oh, that was really bad." Not in New Thought, not in unity, not the way we believe, not through the principle of unconditional love. We're moving toward a greater understanding of that. But visualize what it would be like to be loved and approved of all the time. This doesn't mean we reward bad behavior. It means that there is a place we can go in prayer and meditation where there is no disapproval. There are no hard knocks. There's just love. And we all deserve that. Relax now as we enter into our time of inner contemplation, increased awareness, inner peace. Mother's Day, a time to focus on unconditional love. So let us lift ourselves in consciousness to the place where love is. And we affirm, I love and I am loved. I am always good enough. In the world of spirit, I am not judged harshly, just loved and nurtured and accepted. I feel safe and secure. Wrapped in the arms of Spirit, held securely and safely by divine love. Loved and lovable, safe and secure, worthy and deserving. I am at peace. And so it is. Amen. It's time in our service to bless our tithes and offerings. We give thanks for Unity of San Luis Obispo, a ministry that is mighty to share its good and to receive good from others. Please know that a portion of your tithes and gifts goes to support human rights and planetary reform. Also remember that as you give, so shall you receive, 30, 60, 100 times over. So let's take the gift that we would share, hold it in our hands or in our hearts, and let's say the words of our prosperity affirmation together. I give in love because I love to give. God is my source.
Here's an original tune I wrote back in my old hometown of Oklahoma City. And back in the day, 1976, I must have been just a boy. It's called In the Light. One, two, three, four, five. In the light.
What a wonderful song, Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans. Thank you so much, Brett, for your original music and for your continuing ability to use your wonderful spiritual gifts to bless and uplift others so richly. Let's sing our peace song, shall we?
God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyful vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Let's speak the words of our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Friends, please remember to listen to our Get Off Your Affirmation podcast. There are so many topics that are relevant to today's issues that we'd love to have you listen to. Remember, it's free of charge and available wherever you get your podcasts. Have a wonderful week. You deserve it.
Every single person living peace in what we do. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.